And I remember someone coming up to me once and saying, do you want a bit of Charlie? And I genuinely, like, the most naive man in the world, right? And I turned around to him, it's all right, mate, I've got a bird. Honestly, I swear to God. I always said, if I score against Everton, I'm going to mimic, or I'm going to get on my hands and knees and mimic what you think I'm doing. Just to wind you up more than anything, because you've been winding up for years about it. When Tom always said, look at the size of your fucking nose, I said genuinely, if I wanted it, I said I fucking couldn't miss it, and he didn't like that, you know what I mean? But that's what we did. We had an argument today.
Today's episode was sponsored by That Prize Guy. Visit thatprizeguy.co.uk for all information and prizes. Hello, welcome to today's episode with the Smith Brothers. It's not a podcast. Today's guest for us is, in my opinion, the best finisher the Premier League's ever seen. It's none only than God himself, Robbie Fowler.
I reckon we just finished there, lads.
Yeah. How are you, mate?
I'm good, mate, yourself?
All good, all good.
Good to see you, thanks for coming.
I'll ask you a question. You all growing up, who's the hardest in your family, by the way?
The eldest, you think?
Yeah.
The eldest till I wasn't the hardest.
It depends on the age. When we were kids, he used to knock fuck out of us.
Can you swear and everything now, yeah?
Okay, you want me? Yeah.
I used to throw Edgard on Stephen, he was great. That's how I learned how to box. He was like the class test dummy, and then Liam come through and didn't want to fight, so a pair of us used to pick him off. That's why he looks like that. And then Callum come along, and then all of a sudden Stephen started catching up, Liam started catching up, and Callum definitely caught up, and then pecking order changed.
Sorry, the way you were with all your brothers, is that the way you are with all your kids now, or?
In terms of two girls, so
He's got girls.
Girls can box, though, can't they?
Yeah, definitely, but they're not. He doesn't want them to. My little girl's 10. I wanted to do the boxing team. I don't want to put my lad boxes. He's 19. He's boxing, but it's not like I've never like sparred him or nothing like that. Like we were all knocking shite out of each other in the house. We'd have a pair of gloves between us and tea towels. Then we got the 2 gloves each, and then one a referee, one a judge, one to give the other one a drink, and we used a little clock on the mantelpiece. We broke every ornament in the house, and my man used to come home from the bingo. The house would all be like sweat and smoke, and sweat and steam. Everybody like, "You've been boxing, haven't you?" We'd all be sitting there with cut lips, going, "No, we haven't." But that's just how it was. I suppose obviously your house will have been football obsessed. Football's everything. Ours was boxing. We always had boxing on the telly and that.
So I think we've narrowed that down. So the mum was the hardest in your house, then, yeah?
Definitely. Yeah. She still is.
She was the hardest where we'd all be terrified of her kicking off because she'd give it to us. But when she, like, her hands got sore, she'd go, "Right, I'm getting your dad." And he's all go, all right, because he used the big lump.
That was worse than the bite. But tell you what, my ma said, didn't she? This was the only one she wanted to come and sit in on, and she's got your book, and she bought your book, loves it and all, and she wants you to sign a book for it. And if you don't, she'll knock shite out of you.
Yeah, no, I'm not bothered by yous. Yeah. No, you can try, but no, your mum, yeah, definitely, I'll do that.
So we were growing up, and I remember being in Crawley with our youth club playing football. And that hat-trick from Arsenal was on, and probably you were in your pomp for us, in your prime for us. We all had the shirt, the green and white shirt with your name on every kick growing up as kids, and I'm a little bit older, but these are a bit younger. Always you. Obviously, you've been asked this so many times, not just about that. All your memories of Liverpool. What was it like to finally grow up and be Robbie Fowler in front of the cop?
You know what? I don't know how to answer this, because it's what you do. You know, you grow up and you want to play football. I want to play football, you want to box. So you sort of get to a level where you're half decent, and I was sort of thrust upon. So I know you've just mentioned that game, and I was probably in my pomp. I was probably in my pomp a year after, if that makes sense. When I think of my life in football, you know, I made my debut at 18. I made my debut away at Fulham, but I didn't really realise the significance of my home debut until I'd maybe finished my career. So, you know, for a young kid, I was obviously 18. I scored 5 goals in my first game as a Liverpool player at Anfield. I mean, that is incredible. And, you know, pat myself on the back because at the time,
you just lived it at the time. And then
imagine being like imagine coming into the game now and seeing an 18-year-old kid scoring 5 goals in his home debut. I mean,
from the city as well, that must have been.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with me. Obviously, it's well documented I grew up a Blue, and not because anything other than the fact is all my mum's side of the family are all Blues, still are. They tend not to speak to me as much, and all my dad's side are all Reds. So, you know, because I'm obviously a little bit of a mummy's boy. I grew up on my mum's side of the family. I went to game. You know, I was a massive Everton fan. You know, I would never ever say I wasn't. You know what I mean? But then I wasn't a bitter Everton fan, if that makes sense. I think when I was growing up in the obviously 80s, Everton and Liverpool were both brilliant. Yeah. So I had loads of respect for Liverpool. And I know we'll talk about it later, and this is probably one of the things that probably irks me about, and we will go into that. But when I'm growing up, I mean, one of my biggest idols, if I'm being honest, was Ian Rush, because of the goals he scored. And as much as I was an Everton fan, and I loved Graeme Sharp and Trevor Steven, because I seen a little bit of me and them, you know, I wanted to be like them, you know, Graeme Sharp goals and Trevor Steven in terms of how he played, the trickiness and beating players. But Ian Rush was phenomenal. You know, and getting the chance to sort of play with him and, you know, watch him train was brilliant. But then you go back to me being obviously a young kid. I mean, I was at Liverpool from when I was 14, so, you know, I was changing before then, you know, and
a Liverpool fan like that.
Yeah, and it's like, I always think like I'm quite loyal. Now, I know people might say, well, you weren't loyal to Everton, but as soon as Liverpool were, not paying me, as soon as Liverpool were, you know, were giving me everything in terms of your kit and, you know, giving me their coaching. You know, I'm giving everything back. So for me to make my debut for them was brilliant. The fact is, a young lad and, you know, Liverpool lad, and I think this is probably the bit I love. The simple fact is that I was a Liverpool fan, you know, who's played the game. So a lot of people in the COP were me. So they all seen themselves in me. So I think they all related to me, and they all wanted to, without again sounding egotistical, they all probably wanted to be me. Yeah, you know, and that's what I loved about Liverpool and my sort of role and my honour, if you like, playing for Liverpool.
Yeah. But you said that about 18. Does that make you smile when you're seeing these sort of ongoing arguments with Owen and Rooney and stuff, and talking about them both being young players? We all laugh and say how good you was at the same age.
I mean, it's not for me to say it, but I think I go under the radar with a lot of people. Now, I think people forget sort of what my role and my route was. And I again, you know, I'm not big. You know me, and I've met you loads. I'm far from big-headed, but amongst the Liverpool fans I do. But I think from an outside world point of view, I don't think I get the love or the adulation, if you like, from anyone else.
So I'm not trying to play the violin here or something, but there's an argument to that with us. If four brothers like us were from London or a different place, even around the world, I think there'd be a lot more made out of it, and especially him. Like, we're not ones to sort of court it or chase it. Like, you've never been one of them either, have you? You're happily married or got your kids, and you've never been that type.
Do you think a lot of it's down to the team you come into, though? Like, have you come in at 18 and burst in and score 5 goals and that, and you're for the team that goes on and wins the league, wins the European Cup, you probably pushed higher than if you come into a team that's not really that successful?
Yeah, I mean, I can see that point, but I mean, from an individual point of view, if you're doing that, maybe you should be. You're thrust upon, but look, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I want to do that, or, you know, just what, you know, it's for other people to say. But I genuinely do think I do go under the radar. So the argument is, you know, the Wayne Rooney. I mean, Wayne Rooney's unbelievable. I mean, Michael Owen's unbelievable, but if you get them in a room, and they'll all say we're better because that's what we do. And you know, as sportsmen,
I think that, Callum, what you said before, I think that's more underappreciated rather than underachieved, and that's in that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I do. Does it rankle me? No, you know, I'm not really bothered in all things. But when people come into them arguments with like your Wazzers and your Michaels, I don't really get a mention.
It doesn't change what you did, and you did the stats are still there to see.
Yeah, but I also think with some articles in papers where you know, you'll see like a list, and they'll sort of miss me out on that list, and you think, well, I'm above him, but I'm not on it, so maybe I'm not fashionable enough to buzz. So, you know, it does not get you down, but it rankles you a little.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's got to. It's got to, hasn't it?
I seen that recently. I seen a list that someone put in. Someone sent me something on Twitter. She put on ChatGPT, who's the best 10 boxers from Liverpool. Not one of us were on it. It's like, okay, mate, like, no problem. Like, I'm not going to be on it, but these two should, the 2 world champions, you know what I mean? Considering he's the first world champion for 23 years in Liverpool there.
And when you're saying about that, though, as well, you recognise a little bit more when you're done. We've always said about, we will probably be appreciated more when the 4 of us are retired and gone, because, like, I remember seeing there was a fight happening, and it was Luke Campbell against Tommy Coyle, and they were trying to become the first British champion from Hull. We had 3.
I remember watching that.
We had 3. 3 of us were British champion at the same time. 4 of us probably, he was good enough to be Callum, but Paul held the British title at Callum's weight. So Callum was English champion. Callum was English super middleweight champion. Paul was British super middleweight champion. Stephen. So we had 3 British titles in the house.
Goes under the radar.
Yeah, no, and like they're trying to become the first British champions to come from Hull.
I vacated at the time. He didn't fancy it, so I got to let him go and win it then afterwards.
Yeah.
But it does sort of, I mean, it is funny in it because it's like when I think of football, and I mean, obviously I've scored a lot of goals. I could have scored more, if I'm being honest, but it's sort of, when I think of the Premier League, and I'm number 9, I haven't played in the Premier League since 2006, I think, 2006, and I'm still, obviously, I think 9, maybe 9.
Having a glance through the stats, you've got like the fastest to certain amounts of goals as well, still, haven't you?
Even things like that, so I look at that in terms of goals, but it sort of hurts me a little bit that I haven't gone higher. Yeah. Now, again, this is obviously the sport person that in us, that we always want to be better. But I always think of my career, I scored a lot of goals earlier on in my career, and I didn't really realise, again, the significance, but injuries played a real downfall of my career. But then when I still scored goals, but not to the level, and when you think of where you are in the table, and I think maybe the last 5 years, I didn't score a load of goals because I was maybe a bit part player. So, when you talk about goals and appearances, he's got X amount of goals in so many appearances. Well, it's great, but if I think of that towards the end of my career, it was goals per minute because I didn't really play. So if you come on as certainly as a forward, you come on at 5 minutes or 10 minutes. That's classed as appearance. So I don't think maybe that the team sort of worked around me ever in my career, whereas other players they have done. So that's why maybe they're a little bit higher or whatever. But I would have loved to have scored more goals, and I believe they should have done, but injuries probably ruined me to a degree,
What was your relationship like with managers? Who was your best?
Well, it'd be interesting to get your points in it, because I know obviously your manager would be maybe different to obviously than a football manager, but I'm big into like environments and like cultures, and I mean you'd get more out of me if you were a good man manager. I played under technical managers, tactical managers who were brilliant, and I fell out with them, of course, because I wanted to play. But my favourite manager was Roy Evans. Now, again, he wasn't everyone's cup of tea because everyone thought, he was a bit too easy, or you can control him. I didn't ever see that. I was a young lad, but I thought his man management skills were better.
Do you think that comes from the respect you have from being at the club, because he's been there for when you were the minute you got there, hasn't he?
But it's also that fact that the way you want to treat people the way they treat you. And don't get me wrong, certainly in the sports world, you got managers who can be tough to you. But my demeanour, if you like, is if a manager has a go at you, then I'm gonna fucking show you. Yeah. Whereas if you got like a good man manager who knows how to sort of play you in terms of how you play, what brings out the best of you. Don't get me wrong, Roy Evans was tough when he needed to be with me. I don't know what he was like with other players, but for me he was my best one because his man management skills were far superior than every other manager. Yeah.
Stephen can probably tell you with the boxing how it is.
Player needs sort of treated different to get the better out of them. It's massive in boxing, and I think it's massively overlooked in the sport that you can't train every fighter the same. You can't just expect to say the same stuff to them and everyone go out and perform the same. And us four as brothers is a really good example. The fact that myself and Callum, if you went in the corner and said you're shite, we'd think we were shite and we'd probably underperform. Whereas these two have got that stillness about them. We'll go, who is? Come watch them. They'll go out and have a fight. Whereas if you say to me and Callum, brilliant, well done, keep going, we'll be buzzing. These two are just ease up there, know what I mean? I'm flying. Like, it's just different. We're just all different wired up, where we all need selling different things.
Our manager is basically the coach, though. Like, that's the one who can. Our manager's just phone calls, if that makes sense. And like, they just saw your fight, your money, and your range. Look, we're still very close to managers, but we're not with a manager every day. You're in football, you're a manager every day in training. We're in the gym every day with our coach. Our coach is not our manager. So it's the coaches,
the fight is
the
man
boss,
manager
for us. Yeah, of course.
And the manager works for you technically, even though he's doing his bit. But in the gym, the relationship has to be changed. The fight is the boss, but the trainer needs to be the boss in the gym. You have to have that dynamic.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense, yeah. Really does. But I think with a football manager is maybe different to obviously the boxing manager, the boxing coach, because again, you are very individualised and you know what you want to do. But a manager's got to look after not only 11 but 15, 20, and everyone's different. You've just hit the nail on the head with everyone. Every character's different.
You know what you've just said though? We're big on that, aren't we? You just said it's the environment you're in. I've always said that, we've always said that the better the people around you are, the better you're going to become, and the better the coaches, the better the higher the level of coaching or training or quality, you will improve.
That is where that saying comes from: a happy fighter is a dangerous fighter. Yeah. It's not the fact that you get in the ring all buzzing, you'd be good. It's the fact that when you're happy going to the gym, you're happy learning, you're happy developing, because you're around good people and they're getting the best out of you. You then are going to perform better because your camp's being better. If you go in the gym every day like, I can't be arsed with this, you're going to be looking at the clock, waiting to get off, and you're not really going to take anything in and study, like get your tactics.
Yeah, and that leads into like different characters within football as well. So there's a big thing now when everyone's saying, I mean, Roy Keane's big into saying, I know you should be training the way you're playing. I get that. He might have needed to do that, but what's right for him is not necessarily right for me. So I understand, or maybe you're not professional because you're not doing 100 mile an hour. Everyone's different. Everyone's character's different. So I reckon if you go into a dressing room and you've got a dressing room like this, full of 20 people and they're all the same, that's not a good environment to me. That's a bit too robotic. That's a little bit too staged. But if you go into a dressing room where you've got different characters, one likes to laugh, he's serious and he brings out the best. But you need someone who's got a little bit of a character, someone who's jovial to sort of bring out. I think for me, that's a better environment. So not everyone can be treated the same.
That's what you touched on before, and I love the fact that you said it. You said about what you'd done early. So when you got later, you was able to pat yourself on the back. I think that's brilliant, because I'm a big believer in sort of when you do get your maturity, especially with us when we've retired, like me and Paul now. It's like you get to the stage where you look back and you can pat yourself on the back and be proud. And it's something what we've spoke about before. But do you feel if you're at the head on your shoulders you've got now, but you could start again, you would be even better and you'd know the things to avoid and do better?
Yes, but I mean, it's
what you gain on one, you lose on.
You wouldn't be who you are today then, would you?
Everything's like sort of hypothetical, isn't it? So if you could go back and do all your career again, obviously you would change certain elements, wouldn't you? But it's like, again, we'll use this environment, but wherever you are in sort of whatever situation, you are a product of that environment. So I come into like a Liverpool team where, Ian Rush, phenomenal player, would drink. John Barnes would drink, okay, not as big as Ian Rush or Steve Nicol or Ronnie Whelan. I'm proper legends, these players, by the way. So I'm thinking it's right for them. So you're going to do that because you think that's right. And then towards the end of my career, obviously Gerard Houllier comes in at Liverpool, and the football, the culture and everything was changing. So if you'd have probably learned that as a younger player, maybe you don't get injured.
There's a little bit similar, isn't it, with the boxing, where Hatton, the breccies, the fly-ups and all that, and you think it's okay, but realistically, knowing what you know now, if you could go back, you probably would never do any of that. Like if I could go back now, I probably wouldn't drink. I don't drink no more anyway. I had to drink for probably 3 years, same as Steve. It's not for me, but I just don't like it. But at the time, I probably wouldn't have drank when I was fighting, and it wasn't much. Like none of us were not big drinkers, never took drugs, but it's not like... Yeah. It's not good for you. The same as we used to think, go and fight and go and have a rest and rest your body, make sure you recover to go again. You're doing a 4-round, 6-round fight, you should be back in the gym. Like, knowing what you know now, you'd be a million times better, but that's hindsight, isn't it?
That's when you turn pro. You turn pro at that time. He went to Ricky Hatton's gym, so like, God rest, I'm not blaming on Ricky, but Ricky sort of made it sort of fashionable to go and fight, get in unbelievable shape, and then go out and all KFs and Guinness and all that and put loads of weight on, and then your camp was about getting your weight back off, whereas by the time sort of maybe Callum went pro and the younger fighters now, the top fighters were like Mayweather and Pacquiao, who basically were always in shape. They lived in the gym, and that was sort of seen as fashionable to don't go ahead.
It's probably the sports mirror image, usually, because that would be the same in football. I remember years ago, you'd finish the end of the season and you'd go away for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and come back and you'd do nothing. You wouldn't do a tap in that like summer, and you'd come back and everyone would be maybe a stone overweight. But pre-season was all about getting fit. But nowadays, it'll be what you do now, is you just tick over and you do what you need to do to try and come back into, pre-season in a better
That's a starting point.
Form,
yeah. Oh, it is definitely.
We used to speak to footballers who'd always compare it and say, like pre-season, like every training camp you have for a fight is pre-season, because you're getting in, you're not technically in shape, you're heavier, it's impact on your joints, your knees, your shoulders, everything. and you've got to sort of spend a couple of weeks getting fit to start your camp, start your 12.
But that's also stage of careers. That's what we all know now, because later on in our careers, when it was every fight was a 10 or 12 rounder, that's what you were saying then. Before, when you're starting, you turn pro, your 4 rounders and your 6 round fights, you should just be in the gym all year round, because then you're available. Then if someone falls off a bill, you want Frank Warner at the end of the phone and say, is he ready to do a 6 rounds? And he's ready in 2 weeks. He can make weight in 2 weeks' time. But then obviously, that's where, you know, fighters who do 10 and 12 round fights only have 3 or 4 fights a year. And be like, why can't you fight more? It's because the camps for them 10 round fights, 10 and 12 week camps. So that's where that comes into play. But
it's more about, you have got to rest and recover, but rest and recover is different to this sort of go.
The lifestyle,
Do you notice much in the players to now, as in, like, with us in the boxing, it's similar? We laugh and say, like, would the likes of Sugar Ray Leonard to live with the likes of Mayweather nowadays, and skill-wise, set like say Maradona, Pele, Messi and Ronaldo. But do you think, obviously, the players you're seeing nowadays would have handled the physicality of even your generation?
You know what? Again, I will be the same mindset of you as well, and I'll be amazed if you don't agree with me. Again, I fall into that category of the product of the environment. So it's the horses for causes. So you do what you need to do at that particular time. So, you know, you're getting ready. But if you sort of take my career back then and bring it now, well, I'm going to do everything I need to do to be the very best I can in that position, in this era. And I did what I needed to do in that era to be the very best. So good players adapt. Good players, you know, adapt to whatever situation they're in, the environment, you know, whoever they're with, the teammates, you know, your managers. So you adapt. And I think that's probably what I would do now. So people say, could you play now? Absolutely. Because I think I'm a decent player. I think I'm good enough to sort of hold my own. Again, this is probably open to debate, but I think years ago, I think players could maybe think a little bit more for themselves. Whereas nowadays, they're all looking at the coach, and they're looking for someone to tell them exactly what to do. If you're on a pitch years ago, you probably needed to sort of fend for yourself a little bit more.
A little bit more.
Yeah, and I think that's what. So again, I think technically, I think we were always good. I think we probably were a little bit more savvy. I think the game, the sports science it's gone up. I mean, unbelievably. So I think that is the big concept in terms of how sport has changed. I mean, boxing probably the same. Football's exactly the same.
That's a good point you're making now with boxing, because nowadays, when like we're on the international scene, you go away and you box a boxer from Moldova, could be anywhere. You go to the middle of the ring, you touch gloves, and then he come out and he be a certain stance, a certain. You just deal with it and think for yourself and have to do it. Nowadays, anyone you box, you type the name in the database, bang, and you get a list of the fights, and you get to watch them and study. So you're sort of more scripted with your technique and your tactics off the coach, what they're telling you to do. Whereas we sort of, as you said, just talk for ourselves a lot more.
You have to adapt, don't you? So this is like the argument now is like players from yesterday, your Maradonas. I mean, let's not forget Maradona, Pele, the pitches they were playing on. I mean, the players now, they're all carpets, and you know, the footwear, the boots. I mean, everything's sort of catered now to being brilliant, isn't it?
I agree with that in football, and that, like where you say you'd be a bit more savvy now as well. Like where you'd adapt to years ago, you knew you kind of get a solid tackle and just got to crack on with it. Now you play the game, you know, a little touch now, you go over, you know, there's VAR, everything now, and again you just adapt to it. You know now, near enough anything's basically a foul, a follow through's a foul now.
But I understand why people sort of fall over now in football. I don't really understand how they roll about, because growing up, you know, again, you know, it's we were always told, but I mean, it's not even a Liverpool thing. I think it was a generational thing where don't show people you're hurt. I mean, that's for me, that was a sign of weakness years ago. So just get up and get on with it. But nowadays, if you do that, you sort of conning the referee. Now, it's everyone cheats in the game now.
That's the game,
and everyone says, "I know he's dived, or he's this, he's that." People go, "No, he's cheated, or he's not cheated." Everyone cheats, and you have to. There's different ways of cheating in football, right? Obviously, you can go for a penalty, you can go for a foul or whatever, but you watch how many times the ball goes out for a throw-in, and everyone's, you know, up for a desire ball.
And you know,
that's cheating. No one mentions that.
I've had the kids' footy. My lad's playing footy. I couldn't do it. I couldn't put my arm up that way knowing it was that way. You look like one of them knobheads on the line. Like, I wouldn't do it, but then you see the players and they're all doing it. And they're
I always laugh at that one, though, the handball one. Like, we think, well, once the refs give it, why are you moaning at him? You know when your ball, the minute he hasn't given you your ball, just get on with it.
No, you're it.
I think what it is, though, I think it's always, again, it's your sport. You're always looking for little marginal gains, so something to sort of kickstart something in you to, like, maybe get something better. So it might be a free kick. When I went over to Australia, as a manager for Brisbane, I changed a few things pretty quick within the setup and the system. Now, it'll be interesting what you think of this one. So you can imagine our stadium. So we came out this way, and the bench, so the opposition bench was here, and obviously our bench was there, but the linesman, or the assistant referee as they call him now, was here. So I went, well, no, we're going to be on this bench. For what reason? Because I want to get in his ear. So it's, again, the marginal gains, right? So I wanted, like, all these offside refs, so you know he can get his flag up. And the other one was our team used to warm up like in front of their own supporters. And I go, no, get the opposition, because straight away, from a mental point of view, if the opposition there and the fans are getting on their back, they're probably, I know, probably could work the other way. That's what we were saying before.
Yeah, of course.
But I was like, well, if you warm up there, and the fans are getting on your back, well, you're on a pitch and you're not really in the right frame of mind here. So it's like little marginal gains, and it never really went down well.
There's a few things in boxing what's similar, in the sense that when computer scoring used to be in, there's 5 judges on the ring. Yeah. So on one side of the ring, there's 2 judges. So the coaches always say, especially on England and on the England squads, do all your work on that ropes. We've had a similar way. When I'm commentating, I've commentated on fights, and it's a close fight. The judge by us usually has it exactly how we've got it. I'm not saying that they're influenced by any set of imagination. They can hear the commentary. Yeah. So the two, and that helps, by the way. I've had to score fights where I've been commentating myself, and I'm panicking and thinking, I've got this wide here for him, and I don't, it wasn't meant to be that way. So, and I remember messaging Liam, have you got this here? And he said, no, I've got it the same. Like, I was a little bit sigh relief, but it's hard to do. And people, whether you like it or not, they're easily influenced. They're easily swayed.
Find it on amateur shows, don't you, a lot, where, you know, bless them, the fellas giving the time what they're going to judge kids boxing. That's so, you know, fair play to them. But they're sitting watching 2 kids fight, and every time, say, the kid in red throws a punch, even if it lands or it misses, the whole, like, social club or the whole whereas the poor kids, is the away fighter, he's throwing a shot, no one's saying nothing. That judge is just hearing the roars every time he throws a punch, he's thinking he's winning the fight. They usually give them, that's when you hear the hometown decisions. A lot of the time it's down to the crowd, they're just hearing all the noise and thinking, oh, it must have landed.
No, and I do agree, and that's where you come back to, obviously, the marginal gains and the VAR now. So people go over because they're going to try and get a foul, or they're going to try and get something in their favour. I'm not a massive fan of VAR.
Yeah.
In all.
Do you know, while we're on managing, you done with managing?
Oh no, God, no! I love it.
Do you?
I mean, I love the game. So, you know, people, I have various businesses outside, but, you know, I'm not interested in talking about that to anyone, because, you know, if you start talking about that, people sort of think you're doing the wrong thing. I'd seen something today. It was another podcast, and someone was talking about, like, the families, one's this side of the world, one's that side of the world, and everyone was made up because, oh, you know, they're going out of the comfort zone. I'd done this years ago. So I obviously had a good career, but, you know, ended up in Thailand as a player manager. Came home and loved, you know, obviously can't play forever. So the next, you know, port of call for me then is to stay in the game, was go and coach and go and manage. So, you know, I wanted to go and do that, but I wanted to go overseas and show people I was willing to go out of my comfort zone. I was wanting to go people to show how dedicated I was, and what I was willing to do to go and be the very best. Now, you know, people might laugh at this, but I went over to Australia in 2019. Obviously, COVID played a real downward spiral, if you like, in my career. But the confidence in me, I was saying I'm going to be in the Premier League in 5 years, and I genuinely was adamant that I could have done that. Then COVID come and sort of ruined it. But I love that part of the game now.
Is that still a goal, to end up in the Premier League, managing?
I mean, it's not. Of course. I mean, obviously the plan has totally, you know, changed now because of what happened and where I am. But everywhere I've been, I've done okay. You know, in fact, I've done better than okay. You know, obviously been to, you know, Asian Champions Leagues. You know, the last team in Saudi, I took them, and, you know, it was a consultant, and funny enough, Brendan Rodgers is now the manager of them. So you know, done reasonably well with them. But every club that I've been at, I've left them in a better position, and you can't ask for no more than that as a coach. So, do I want to be in the Premier League in 5 years? I want to be in the Premier League in 1 year. If I'm being honest, I want it now. But I'm not stupid enough to know that it's not going to. You maybe fall
in as well, and it's a closed shop sometimes.
Absolutely, yeah. And obviously, I need a little bit of luck. Don't get me wrong, but I think you need a little bit of luck in everything you do. I would back myself with anyone in terms of what I know, my knowledge. How I am, environment. How I'll bring the best out of a culture, if you like. Every culture I've been at has been different, and I've adapted well. I think it's just a case of look, you're just still waiting.
The right opportunity.
But I also think the fact is that I was willing to go out of my comfort zone and show people how serious and how dedicated I was to that. I think it's backfired a little bit, if I'm totally honest, because and we all know out of sight, out of mind.
I was going to say that because not as well documented with it being.
Yeah, so I think if you go on social media now, I'm not sure everyone knows what I've done. I mean, I've obviously, sorry, mate. I know I can talk, lads. So I do apologise. I've got all my licences. At the minute, I'm in the middle of a sports directorship course. So I'm on course to do that. Obviously, I've got a pro licence. I've got a football diploma in sports management with obviously Liverpool University. So I'm more than qualified. I'm not saying just because you got them and you've ticked boxes. It doesn't mean that because you get better by doing it.
You have to tick them boxes anyway, and that's another thing to your bow, isn't it? He's the
got
same
them as well as your background, mate, and what you've done yourself.
He's absolutely the same, and people, you've done a bit on this yourself, haven't you? The things about not wanting to plug yourself too much. It's just not your cup of tea, is it, obviously?
No, it's never, I've always been quiet outside the ring. I've always liked to keep myself to myself, but I want to achieve everything in boxing, and I enjoy that side of it, and I enjoy recognition for what I've done, but I don't enjoy limelight, if that makes sense. But I suppose a lot of them come.
Yeah, the way you're talking is very similar to me, genuinely is, but I think if we're waiting for everyone else to give us the plaudits, we might be waiting a long time. So
get forgot about.
And as much as we're not big at it, or perhaps we should have been, or we should be, because if no one else is patting us on the back, then we've got to do it ourselves. We've got to sing ourselves.
Shy kids get no sweets.
Yeah. That you kind of answered the question then, but what I was saying about a lot of the games changed from now to when you played, especially the physicality side of it and stuff, but you still enjoy watching the game
love
today?
Watching it, yeah. Not as much in terms of the football now. I think it's very, very structured to a degree where sometimes it can be a touch boring, kind of the Premier League. So sometimes I like watching the Championship. I like watching League One and League Two because that's a different type of football. So I think when you think of the Premier League and you think of the realms of what it's like, you have the ball for 5 minutes, we'll knock it around the back. Great, if that's what you want, but not necessarily for me. And one of the things I liked when I was in Australia, the year I took over the team, the year before I took over the team, they were finished second bottom. They conceded 77 goals in 30 games, and they were rubbish, to be fair. But I went over there, so I had obviously a style of play, knew what I was going to do. But I wanted to be a possession-based coach. Now, you can fall into the category of saying, you're going into the Pep Guardiola, but I'm not interested in passing around the ball at the back just for possession stats, because anyone can do that. One of the things I was most proud of was possession in the final third of a pitch, because that means you're putting a bit of pressure on the opposition. So that's what I wanted to do, and you get the ball into, not saying that you were kick and rush and getting the ball as forward as early as you possibly could, but we had a style and a way of getting that ball into that final third where we can hurt teams, and that's what I like.
Our friends at Bingham Long Solicitors are leading a major legal claim on behalf of people affected by legal aid data breach. Earlier this year, the agency failed to protect applicants' sensitive information, allowing hackers to access and download over 2 million pieces of personal data, including names, addresses, financial details, and even criminal records. If you applied for legal aid at any point since 2007, your data may have been exposed and you may be due significant compensation. To find out if you're eligible and join the claim, simply scan the QR code now on screen. You can also learn more at legalaidclaim.com. You just mentioned about football and how you still like watching, but it's a bit regimental, technical, bit too much predictable, let's say. If you sat and watched a super fight with us, like Batavier Bivol it might not be your cup of tea. For us, we're like, that's a very intricate fight, but it's very technical.
Yeah.
So they're not really like catching fire. It's a great fight like Gatti Ward or like some of the great ones, Ben McLennan and all that. It's a chess match as such as technical. Stevenson Lopez,
Stevenson Lopez are fighting in the two top fighters, but it's Southpaw Orthodox. It's probably not going to be like a Gatti Ward and set the world alight, but for boxing fans and purists who can see the skill set involved, the unbelievable fight.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, you know, and obviously everyone who's like part or top of their game will see totally, you know, different things than what the average person will see. Now, I sort of know what you're saying there, because I remember years and years ago, I remember going to the Millennium Stadium watching Calzaghe against Kessler, and I remember the fight, and I forget who I was sat by. I was sat by another boxer, I can't think who it was. I'm like, oh, that's going to be close there. And he went, no, he's won easy. And I went, wow. And he just knew. And I'm like...
By me watching a football match at you're 10 moves ahead. You're watching things that I can't even see. Or you said this before, haven't we, about watching a game with a footballer or watching a fight with a fighter or another sport with a pro and that. You're watching it. You're not watching it. You're seeing it completely different to us. And boxing, we'll see it different to you because it's our sport.
It's funny because I mean, the way you... Obviously, we will all talk about sport, and I mean... You know, I'll be interested to see how you see a boxer, the way like he stands, the way he sort of moves forward, the way he moves back. You know if he's going to be a good boxer or not, don't you? We're like that with football. I think if you run onto the pitch and you've got like a wrong style, you can, he's not going to be the best in him, yeah? But you sort of have an idea of what they're going to be like, don't you?
When we watch boxing, we see a lot of times how well a fighter can keep his shape, and you know, even if they get tired, if they don't really make any sort of ragged moves, you can see he's a good fighter. He keeps his shape really well. But we watch football, and we're just looking where the ball is. We're not seeing like the tactics and
maybe not so much
probably see
Billy on the end there. Like he plays a bit, doesn't he? So.
Yeah, no, he's superstar, isn't he?
I was going to bring you on to that next one. You mentioned before with VAR and whether like you're a fan or you're not. I think nowadays when you're watching the game, the modern game, and you're sort of seeing a goal go in, but players are sort of reluctant to celebrate because they're waiting to see whether the goal's gone in and whether it gets given and stuff. How do you feel you'd been with that?
It takes away the
spontaneity
away from football, and you know the love of that particular moment. And I mean, if anything's going to be involved in the game, I think bring back the goal line technology, use it for that. But the problem I have with VAR, and again this is open to interpretation by people watching and listen to what I've got to say, is the VAR or the person. VAR is probably not VAR is not the problem, it's the people who are looking at the VAR. But if you think us growing up and you have a referee who'll make a decision and you get it wrong, there's nothing wrong with getting things wrong. But then all of a sudden you've got the VAR, so he's got it wrong. Now he's waiting for someone else to help him make a decision because he knows he's got that fallback. And then, I mean, 7 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, whatever it is, he's making the wrong decision because he'll go, oh no, go and look at the screen. Yeah. Go to him and say, well, why are you telling him to go and look at this? You make the decision. Yeah. So again, it's like that interpretation of what he says. So all of a sudden, you've gone from one person making a mistake to possibly 2 people making a mistake.
To sort of back him up, and then it becomes something that it isn't. It's the same in boxing in the sense that in boxing, you're literally at the mercy of someone's opinion whether you won that round. That person might not be fully qualified, might not be the best at what they do. They might just have a bad night and get it wrong, which happens. We've all done it. I've been watching a fight and scoring it, and I'm completely different to some top people who I actually respect. And I think, well, I'll stick to my guns, but I'm a round or 2 out either way. But you ultimately still at that person's opinion. So it's not the system or the machine. Even computer scoring. Years ago in the boxing, 3 judges had to press out of 5 within 1 second for you to get the point. But what they did is they just wait and delay it by another second and press it then. So it still shows up on there. But
that's that one where you're like influenced because he might be...
Yeah, exactly. So waiting for someone else to do it the same.
But the other thing with the VAR as well is, I mean, it's obviously not well, it is the people, but the VAR will slow things down. And I always like a bad tackle in football. Not necessarily it's a bad tackle, but if you slow everything down, everything looks worse. And I always liken it to a boxer. If you punch someone, oh, that's bad. But if you slow it down, it looks horrendous.
You're there at the end of the round, so you hear the crowd like, oh, when the knockout, the punch lands, and it didn't really hurt him, but it's just a clean shot that lands. They all look
shot in real play, and sometimes it might knock your head back, but in real play, it's not that bad. But if you see the pitch and it's like, and your head's in the air, it looks awful, doesn't it? It's the same with these tackles. Now you see the boots on, like his knee, and you think, oh my God, but then it's over. When you're watching real play, it wasn't really that bad.
I bet you're happy VAR went round when you were playing with your celebrations, eh? You've had a few.
I was going to say on the lighter note,
You've had a few headed toss being off. You had a few obviously notable ones and famous ones, but the Docker one always springs to mind for me.
Yeah.
Did you have that planned, or did you like?
I mean, I sort of felt, well, yeah, I mean, everything is planned, obviously it is. So, I mean, the Docker one was, I mean, it was Steve McManaman. Steve McManaman had an uncle who was a Docker who lost his job. And he just said, well, listen, if after this game, it was a game that we were massive favourites to win anyway. After the game, we'll walk around, just show it. And obviously me being me, a bit of a cheeky chappy, I mean, you've scored a goal and just lift it up. In a way, I'm glad I did, because it got them more publicity than ever what we would have done at the end, because it would have probably went under the radar at the end of the game, because no one would have probably been bothered, but scored a goal and then lifted it up, and I mean, the amount of love I got for that was unbelievable. And not far from here, actually, the bar now, which was obviously the Docker bar, was I think that the shirt, or there's a big picture in that now, so they still...
Atalanta was a Docker years ago. They were on the talks, and obviously everyone in the city at the time was getting behind them and supporting them, and someone like yourself to do it at that time was massive.
But you know, again, it's just come to me now, actually. So, you know, today now everything's about social media and like the like putting stuff out there to get everyone's attention. That wasn't about then. So that was a way of getting people to understand the plight of what the Dockers were going through.
It was you consoling the narrative, not the...
Well, basically, I mean, I didn't know at the time that was what was going to happen. But yeah, when you sort of sit and analyse it, well, yeah, it was, because that probably got more publicity than ever. Yeah. And you know, the amount of people who come up to me and say, "Oh, I love what you do," and it's great that you're doing it for Liverpool and the Dockers. I genuinely fell into it, to be fair, because it was obviously Steve McManaman, but what a way to fall into
support it, though, mate, didn't it? It was brilliant for them.
Oh yeah, I love doing it. And
back to what you said at the start, where like you wanted their own as well to do it. Do you know what I mean? So that's why a lot of people probably respected you more for doing that.
Yeah.
Was your other famous celebration plans?
What was that?
Go on.
I was waiting for this, and you know what?
I was waiting for this.
Yeah. Obviously, the publicity before, and did you think, right, no, the score, I'm going to do this, or was it just extra emotion?
I'll go back years and years ago. So we spoke before about going out, and I went out years ago, and I could drink, and I would.
There's no one around this table I couldn't drink, to be honest with you.
Everything in my life is about competition, right? I love competition, so if someone thinks they're better than me, I'm going to prove it, right? So I used to go out, and like I'd be the first out and I'd be the last in, because I'm winning here. You know what I mean? That was my win. And look, rightly or wrongly, you look at it back and you probably, would you do something? Of course you would have done, yeah. But at the time, it's me, controlling. This is me. This is my character. So I went out, and I think a lot of people thought I was doing drugs because I could stay out. And
every one of us have had it, honestly.
I don't know if anyone has had it more than me. And it genuinely, right, I've never took drugs in my life. Even now that I haven't played for years and years, and I'm very, very anti-drugs because I've had drug problems in my family. I mean, everyone always talks to me about one of my favourite goals. My famous goals was do you remember a foreign game? Brambergen, where I flicked it over my head and then scored a volley, and everyone loves the goal. And it was obviously away, and I came home that night, and everyone was made up about the goal. I came home to one of my cousins had passed away through drugs. And I rolled back, again, going on about my career, and he does this, he done that. I got to the point where people were writing smack it on my wall. You were this, you were that, every time. Even now I go on social media, I get mullered now. I genuinely get mullered now, and it used to really hurt me and really upset me. It got to the point once where my dad said to me, he went, "Listen, lad," he said, I'm hearing that many rumours and stories that you're on drugs." He said, "Are you?" And Dad's passed away now, and I've stopped myself crying here, but it's one of them with my dad. He said to me, he said, "Are you, son?" And I went, "Dad," I said, "I can't believe you. I can't believe you've asked me that." He went, "Sorry," he said, "I won't ask you again." But
he's probably thought he's had
it always hurt me, right? And especially when you got people writing on your wall and you this, you that, and I always thought it was the Everton fans, right? And look, rightly or wrongly, I don't know. It might have come from Liverpool fans, and everyone knew someone who had saw me do this or saw me do that. I'm still waiting to see the pictures, right? Genuinely, right? And I always said if I score against Everton, I'm going to mimic, or I'm going to get on my hands and knees and mimic what you think I'm doing, just to wind you up more than it, because you've been winding up for years about it, and it was just a case of that. I mean, I don't really know what else to say. So, genuinely very, very anti-drugs.
The thing with us, right? I used to go out when I first started going out, 99, 2000, 2001. Remember the first couple of times I got offered coke, and I'd be like, "You fucking messing me," and you start like you think like, you know what to do. Like I fucking can't. I wouldn't anyway. And then towards the end, you get offended if no one doesn't offer you, because it's just that common. Yeah. It's like, but I've seen things about Liam. I've seen, you were off your cake last week. I was like, that's a thing to me fucking like. I was drinking, but because the way we looked at it, the way I looked at it when I used to drink was, I can't normally drink, so when I can, I'm gonna have a good drink. But then you're a greedy bastard. You want to stay out till the end. You're the last one to leave. You're having because you can hold your own, and you're there. And before you know it, the next day, like, I'll fucking stay to you, and you're on bottle lager all night. Yeah. But then that gets sort of translated by people to, he was off his cake him last week. Like, never took nothing in my life. You don't need.
There's a couple of things where I sort of go onto that. So, I mean, you go out now, and I'm like you now. I'll go out now, but I don't go out as much. I don't drink as much now. Very, very selective. If I go out now, I very rarely go to the toilet. Now, I'm the best in the world at holding my piss, because I know that if I go to the toilet, people are like watching me.
So you know what habit I've got, and it's a bad habit, obviously. I always end up blowing my nose and go to the toilet. I'm standing on a piss, I'll blow my nose, I'll come out and I'm not going to the toilet, something like that.
But it's like a conscious thing, like a mentality thing, you know. And another one, right, is, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, because I mean, I will come across as a bit of a dickhead, to be fair, but I remember once years ago, and people, obviously, you said yourself, people do offer you, and I remember someone coming up to me once and saying, "Do you want a bit of Charlie?" And I genuinely, like, the most naive man in the world, right, and I turned around to him, "It's all right, mate, I've got a bird." Honestly, I swear to God, I did, because I was naive and I wasn't focused or phased about, the outside. I mean, I was playing football and I love playing football, but that's how sort of naive I was, and I can't believe I've just said that to be honest.
I remember loving the celebration, and I think that again was just from like the way we were brought up. Yeah, being a Red, being a local. I remember thinking, fucking brilliant that he's just done that.
I'm giving a bit back to the Blues as well.
I remember being buzzing that you'd done it. Honestly,
we're of that generation still. I was at the bottom of my nan's hill, Everton Valley, clapping the bus home in '95 when they won the cup. But then with our ours, like, we were still the sort of last generation to like mingle, walking the derby and that, and all our mum's side, all Alan and Dave and all that, they're all Blues, obviously, they're all Evertonians, but like, so they're the first we take the piss out of and vice versa with them, but we were of that last generation sort of where you could give a little bit back, and it's friendly, you don't mean no sort of nastiness by it, you know what I mean, but it's changing a little bit.
Oh no, I think, I mean, yeah, I think maybe I'm not the cause of it, but I think certainly from me coming into the game, the amount of stick I got, and I know people talk about players getting stick now, but I'm not sure anyone had the amount of stick I had over the years from them, from the Everton fans, or like even, I mean, football fans in general for that. And
I think that'll be as well, because you was a Blue turned red, and because you were a local.
Yeah, it is getting you back, if you like. But I mean, I mean, I don't even know if this is possible, but if there's any test that I could take now that went back years and years ago, I genuinely would do it. I've got no qualms.
You had a bit off the United fans as well. I remember being out when you had your blonde hair. I was in the Stretford then with Kevin took us, my uncle, and I went to the cup final when Cantona scored. It was in the middle of the field. Michael Thomas gave the ball away, and then they equalised for 2-2, I think it was. But I was at the cup final as well the same year, the FA Cup final, the famous suits and that, which obviously you've probably been asked a million times about. But that kit we were talking recently, weren't we? That green and white kit, that when everyone says name the first player that remind you of straight away, it was yourself.
It's funny because that era, right, was, I mean, I went into a game, or that was probably me at my pomp. So that was the year after the Arsenal hat-trick. I mean, you score a hat-trick as a young kid, scoring 3 goals is brilliant. Score 5 goals as a young kid, but to score 3 goals against like Arsenal, arguably, 4 England internationals plus the keeper, so 5 internationals as a young kid to that was phenomenal. And then the year after, whereas I genuinely went into every game thinking I'm going to score here. Now you probably don't score to the level that the greats are doing now, but you felt unstoppable. And that was probably the era of my favourite kit, because of because of the amount of goals you score. Now, you know, I'm far from superstitious, but, you know, I love the fact is that whenever you score goals in green and white kit or the red kit, they're going to be your favourite because you've got your most enjoyment out of them.
That was the time, the very first time when us as kids were able to get players' names and numbers on our back. Before that, the kits, like, I think the first kits I ever had was the Hard Crown Paints one when I was younger, but you couldn't get any of that done. And then the Premier League started them type of kits, 93, 94, 95, 96. They were like the boss ones.
Do you reckon your white suited fit that, Paul?
You know what? Probably would, actually. You know why? And it's funny because I mean, I'll tell you the story of where mine is. I've still actually got mine, the cream suit.
What was your first thing when they said you were wearing them? What was your first, like?
You know what? I wasn't interested. I wasn't bothered. You know, I'm very like trivially and thinking. You know, nothing phases me. You know, I'm not really bothered about. You know, this is what you've got to put on or whatever. I mean, what I will say is, yeah, what I will say is, when you get to a cup final, right, you actually get your suits sponsored. Right, so you don't pay for them. Yeah. I think that we were the first club in the history of the FA Cup to pay for them. So we not only
pay themselves. Oh my God, we
actually,
David
James. He was like doing a bit of modelling for Armani at the time. So he sort of had this deal where we'll get these suits, and it's funny, and it's all.
Do you reckon he slotted the job?
I don't think so. I've got to say that because he's bigger than me, isn't he? I reckon you should have him, to be fair enough. But it's one of them, though, with the suits, and everything's hypothetical. If we would have won the game, they're the best suits in the world, aren't they? Obviously lost the game, and all of a sudden they're the worst suits in the world. But I wasn't bothered. I mean, you know, you're not going to lose a game because of what you've had on beforehand. You know what I mean? It's, of course. You know, it's...
I think, though, what you just touched on there, though, the fact that a kit, like... kids growing up in the city and link a kit to you, mate, it's good enough to be remembered from a generation like the players you played with, but to have an actual like kit linked to your name is some goal, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you want in it. Is, I mean, we've all grew up as football fans, and we anyway. So I remember growing up watching the likes of Maradona, being 86. I know I'm a little bit older than you, but Maradona was unbelievable. So I remember playing for the Sunday League team. Obviously, again, there was no names and numbers. So there was numbers, but there was no names. But I remember being 10, you know, in the 86, 10, 11 in the 86. In fact, it was 11, 86 World Cup, and our team wore obviously blue and white, like. I think we had like white shorts, but I'd been obviously a little bit. I put on black shorts on because I wanted to be Maradona, and I made sure I had number 10 on with obviously the white socks on, because you sort of look up to them, don't you? And can I just go back to them, obviously them suits as well? So, I mean, when you talk about like how they fit you, so when years ago in the 90s, everyone was massive anyway. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen a picture or look at the pictures now and. It was swimming.
I said no one used to get fitted like the idea folded in now.
John Barnes would probably fit me.
But mine would fit you, honestly. I mean, obviously I've lost a little bit of weight now, but even like a few years ago when I was a bit bigger, my suit now is in the Football Museum in Manchester. So it's on show. But before I loaned it to them, I tried it on and it actually fitted me. And I was obviously a lot bigger when I've obviously finished playing. So I mean, it'd probably be swimming on me now. Genuinely, it was fucking massive.
Fucking hell.
Steve Bruce used to break his caps in for him.
Got a couple of questions to ask you about your Phil Thompson.
Yeah.
Stories, what happened, a couple of your bust-ups, a couple of people had to split you apart on a couple of occasions.
Yeah, I mean, split apart is probably... Yeah, I mean, we're never going to fight, but we were face to face. You know, I was stood on the penalty spot and he was on the halfway line. you can work that one out. But it's one of them, and I'll never forget it because I missed out on a Charity Shield winners medal because of this, and I had an argument with Phil Thompson. Gerard Houllier was away at the time, and Phil Thompson was taking the training session. And what we normally do after training sessions, we'd maybe congregate somewhere and we'd talk about what we'd done that particular day. And Phil Thompson behind the goal, Sammy Lee's stopped the session, and we're all like congregating just outside the area, maybe about 25 yards. I'm a striker, right? I've seen this loose ball, right, on the edge of the box. Phil Thompson behind the nets, getting these balls, putting them away. And I've seen this, and you know what? I'm top corner in this. You know, I mean, it is going to top corner, so I've gone over to pinged it. Oh, brilliant strike. It sort of hit the net, but it billowed out. And you know when like people go whoa, and it sort of billowed the net, and it's not hit him, and he ran up to me and we were face to face, and he's gone, "You fucking tried to," and I went, "Tomo," I said, "I never," and I was like very calm, right, very calm, but he's like, Tomo can be aggressive, right, or he could have been. I mean, get on really, really well with him now, if I'm being honest, but at that particular time he's really aggressive, and I think it was probably around a time when, you know, I was probably not everyone's favourite at the club because they wanted me gone, in all fairness, they wanted me gone. So Phil Thompson ran up to me and he's going, "You fucking tried to." I went, "Tomo," I said, "I'm good." I said, "But I'm not that good." I said, "You're behind the net." He went, you fucking tried to hit me." I went, "Tomo," I said, "Look at the size of your fucking nose." I said, "Genuinely, if I wanted to hit you," I said, "I fucking couldn't miss it." And he didn't like that, you know what I mean? But that's what we did. We had an argument, and it just became back and forth. And you know, Gerard Houllier, you know, God rest his soul, took his side because he genuinely thought I was trying to hit him, and to this day I wasn't. He was behind, and that's where all that came from. But I mean, this is not even like, I mean, it is in the domain, but the club had tried to sell me. I think that was the year that sort of catapulted me away from the club, if you like, because I knew I wasn't really welcome, and I knew that the club had tried to sell me a few times to Aston Villa. Newcastle tried to obviously buy me, but the big one was Chelsea when Bialy was the manager. And I was sat at my mate's house one night, and my phone goes, and I picked up, answered, and it was Bialy, and I'm not even attempting to do an Italian accent. He went, "You said, well, obviously the clubs have agreed fees. When do you want to come down and speak?" And I went, "Oh, didn't even know I was for sale." He went, yeah, we've got an affidavit." That's how long ago it was. "We've got an affidavit." I said, "Well, I'll need to see that." And I think he faxed it. That's how long ago it was. He faxed it like the next day. And I'd said to him, I said, "Well, look, you know, I'll go in and see the club tomorrow." And I went in the next day, and obviously the manager denied it, but I knew because I'd seen the email, I'd seen the fax.
We still have to fax our stuff into the boxing board, mate. Don't worry, they're still on the fax machine.
Robbie was like Joey Barton. "Hello, Gianluca."
I've tried it before, but it doesn't work. So you sort of stay clear of it now, don't you? But that's what it was. So I think the club, and I think, you know, a lot of them were probably, I mean, I was probably annoying people because I won't apologise for not like being happy playing. I mean, I hated not playing, and this is where we go back to the start of this conversation where I said, I mean, I should have had more goals and I should be higher in the league, you know, because, you know, being a bit part player killed me. And I again, the mentality, and again, players' mentality now is different to what it was years ago. Whereas people are happy sitting on the bench now.
That's the wrong mentality, innit? I just think that's wrong, and I've always been taught that at football. Like, you shouldn't be happy being sub. No. That's like, I guess.
As he's just said, it kills you not only mentally, it kills you physically as well if you haven't got momentum. Same with boxing, if you're not fighting regularly.
Again, a total different thing for yourself, but like I've been sub myself, and to say, instead of coming to the manager at the end, or have it out at the end, don't have it now and upset like all the team and whatnot. But you're right, you shouldn't be happy being sub, and if you are happy being sub, then you've got the wrong attitude.
I think you're in the wrong game, you know, because we do what we do because, you know, you want to be involved. And I know everyone can't, it's impossible, but I always felt I was good enough to play. I always felt I should have been there, but for whatever reason, the manager didn't fancy, they liked other players. I mean, I know this now as a manager. You can't please everyone, you can't, but I think there's a way of maybe doing things, you know, instead of like maybe instigating ways of maybe getting you to sort of argue or, you know, getting, you know, fallout with you know, various people at the club. And I go back to what I was saying. I mean, I would never apologise for like being unhappy about not playing. It'd kill me not playing.
That's the thing, but you're allowed to be unhappy. You are allowed to be like, look, manager picks the team, as you say, there's a squad.
I'm not sure you are now, though.
No, that's what I mean, but you should be allowed to. That's what I'm saying about this modern generation now. Everyone talks and they're big to jump on, the stigma of mental health and stuff, but you're allowed to have a bad day. You're allowed to, like, you know, look, I'm not happy with this. And I can be not happy with your team selection or whatever, and I can approach you about it and say, look, I should be playing. You might give me a reason, go, no, mate, you know what, he was brilliant in training. Work hard, you'll get in. Like, okay, no problem, I'll go and prove my point.
You think now, what you just said there, you're not sure, like, you are allowed to be happy now, do you think that's because of money? You can sit on the bench not being on big money, where now it's the big money involved in footy, don't know?
Yeah, no, I think that plays a massive part of it, yeah. I think that's maybe a sweetener, isn't it, for a lot of people. And don't get me wrong, you know, me and Matt, we got paid as well. Yeah. We got paid well, but it wasn't the be-all and end-all for me. I still wanted to play. Now,
think about the money as well. Sorry to interrupt you. Is obviously you use this on your generation to now that generation isn't as much as what it was, but pound for pound back then at the rate it was, it probably was.
I mean, in terms of the normal players on the street, I mean, it was mega compared to that. So, you know, when you sort of, again, you know, you're not going to be happy, because if I think of my career and you know, where I've been and you know what I've done, I mean, I got paid really, really well, obviously for playing football, and look, you know, people can make out whatever they wanted out, you know, whether they, you know, done the good things or the bad things, but I love the game. And if you were to sit in a classroom now with kids and say to them, you know, what do you want to be when you're older? I mean, maybe it's a little bit different now, but 19 out of 20 or 9 times out of 10 kids will say, I want to be a footballer. And you ask them why, and they'll say, well, because you get loads of money. Now, my attitude wasn't that. Mine was, I want to be remembered for winning trophies and scoring goals, not about what you've got in the bank, because I think that will look after itself. So, I mean, I love the game, and, you know, if I wasn't getting paid for it, I would still be playing it.
I think that's the same. We can probably all 4 of us say, I can honestly, every memory I've got when I was a kid, standing living in my boxies with them little pair of gloves that you get on the ball, what you'd stand on and knock it and bounce back to you. It's 3, 4, 5. You never think about money. You don't think I want to be a pro boxer to make money. If you do, even if you do now, change your stance on it, because there's not much money in it unless you smash at the very top. But it's never really the money that motivates you. If it is, I think that's the problem. And listen, don't get me wrong, it's very important when you get older and when you are a pro and that you do have to pay the bills, you do want to pay for your house, you do want to stabilise your income at home, but it should never be about the money.
It's people are wanting to do things now for the wrong reasons.
But you're right in what you were saying. Even us 4 alone, every one of us 4 wants to play for Liverpool, didn't we? All want to score goals for Liverpool. It was only when we sort of started being good at boxing and becoming national champion, we sort of realised, you know what, I could probably get a career out of boxing. And when I went through school, I always thought, well, you know, I want to be a boxer, I wasn't going to be a footballer. Liam, you probably last.
I done it when I was about 17, 18. I still play football right through.
He won a world title and played 45 minutes the next day.
I know, I remember.
I've got a match tomorrow night. I'm still playing now, but I've had to fuck the Sundays off now, because I'm at the age where, like, I'm still like a tin man on a Sunday when I play on a Saturday. So, but in the last couple of years, I remember being made up. We play our home games now on a Friday night, and I remember being buzzing, because I am past 30, and then the Saturday was a good day of recovery to play Sunday, but then now I don't play Sundays no more. But we again, I had that longer than you, so I still wanted to play football. It was only when I thought, like 17, 18, I thought, no, what, I must be a lot better than boxing than I am at footy, so I might try me hand off.
A bit of stick later on, by the way, when this is finished, because he's just compared you getting dropped with him getting dropped for the Dortmund.
No. Don't you start, Paul. He's biting because I've slaughtered him on every one, about his weight. He's biting.
Even footy, I'm going to laugh. The reason why I knew boxing was for me and footy weren't, was every single team I ever played for, I ended up in goal.
Your last pick in school, whatever. It was a good
best pick in.
I was a bit popular, so I was one of the first picks, and I think just realised he's absolutely shite. Just, do you want to go, lad? And I learned how to be a decent keeper, but you realise the football wasn't for me. Yeah, probably, punching every ball out the way, there you go. But no, I love going to football. I go to match every game, I love it, but playing wise, I knew it weren't there early. Whereas the boxing was something we always loved, as you said, if you love it, it's better.
How good was your reception coming back when you come on? When you were back at Liverpool?
You know what? I mean, it was the best ever. So I spoke before about obviously winning trophies and, you know, scoring goals, and a few great things happened for when I came back. I mean, number one being I got the chance to overtake Sir Kenny as, you know, in terms of goals for Liverpool. So that was special, because I mean he's idolised by everyone, isn't he? Coming back, and I saw. You have to bear with me with this, because I played at Liverpool. So I'd been at Liverpool from when I was 11. Go through all the B teams, like the Centre of Excellence B teams, youth teams, reserve teams, first teams. And I never knew anything else. I never knew what life was like outside Liverpool. So in a silly sort of way, I'm glad I left. Now, don't get me wrong, if I go back, and I would stay all my career at Liverpool, because, you know, that's how much I love the club and, you know, love being part of it. But in a way, in a silly sort of way, I got to appreciate other clubs. You know, I got to appreciate what other clubs were like compared to Liverpool. And, you know, I went to Leeds and Man City. Man City's not the Man City we see now, you know what I mean? And Leeds was a great club. Leeds genuinely was a great club, and I don't know what people at Liverpool fans' opinions of Leeds is, but I loved my time there. It was brilliant. So, big club. Man City was a big club, but not the big club that we see now. And then come back to Liverpool. So I got to appreciate Liverpool a bit more, and I knew my place, if that makes sense, because the first spell it was all about, you know, I want to play, and you know, I should be playing, I'm this and that. But then I sort of knew, I knew I wasn't coming in to play. I knew I was just coming in as a, you know, as someone to give the place a little bit of a lift, someone to sort of energise the club, the players.
It did though, didn't it?
Yeah,
did give it a lift.
And this is why I sort of go back to, you know, when I'm come on, you know, maybe my second debut against Birmingham, you know, that noise, I mean, I can still hear it now. I mean, it was an incredible noise.
I was going to compare that to your first time, but obviously it's probably hard to compare. Yeah, do you know what I mean? I was going to say, what was that as good as your first time stepping into the first team and whatnot? But then it's just...
But you know, I can answer that, because it's obviously, don't get me wrong, it's great making your debut and it's great being part of it, but
some noise.
But I knew what it was like. The second time, I knew what Liverpool was like. I knew what the club was like. So that's why I appreciated it a little bit more. So coming back was a chance for me. That was better than scoring goals. Yeah. That was better than, you know, winning trophies. That was me coming back to Liverpool and appreciating the club that little bit more. And that noise, genuinely, was incredible. So it was better because I knew what to. I mean, I didn't know what to expect in terms of the noise, but I knew what to expect from a club, and I knew what to. I knew how to sort of play the game a little bit better.
Different from us, from a fan's perspective though, we've all been in the ground, we've all seen a kid come on and get a save, and we've all stood and we've all applauded him and, you know, wished him all the best, or get him on. But then the different second time, you were a hero coming back.
Yeah, you're not, at 18, you're not Robbie Fowler, come on, you're an 18-year-old kid, you know, and knows what you're going to go on to do, if that makes sense. So you probably don't really appreciate it at the time, whereas coming back he was Robbie Fowler.
Yeah, I mean, that was the beauty of it, I think, because everyone knew what I was like, and I also knew what the club was like, and I knew what the fans were like. So I think it sort of stems from never really getting a proper goodbye the first time. You know, my last game, the first spell, was against Sunderland. I got taken off at half time, and you know, and it was yeah, it was an horrible game. You know, I think Didier Man got sent off, I think, and I got dragged at half time. Thinking, oh God, why me? You know, no, should have had I should have been in here at that shirt, you know. But yeah, I remember thinking, and then that week, you know, because I knew the club were trying to sell me. I knew, I mean, I mentioned before about obviously Aston Villa, Newcastle, Chelsea, but I knew sort of my days were numbered. And then obviously got sent off, and then obviously Leeds came in for me, and I knew that was my last game. So it sort of killed me, like leaving on that note, because you never really get a chance, or not many people get a chance to do it all again.
So when you come back, obviously family life, you're very private, quiet. You've always obviously backed your family massively. Your kids are older now, aren't they, as well? How old's Jacob now?
He's 19 now, 19. Yeah. So I know I'm getting old, and yeah, I'm still 21. So how I've got a 19-year-old, I'll never know. Yeah. You see, he's
life with the kids, you support them.
Brilliant. I mean, obviously I've got obviously 3 daughters and Jacob. So Jacob's he's a good kid. He's a great lad, honestly, but he probably hasn't got I'll be careful how I say this. Yeah, probably hasn't got the attitude I had in terms of being like fully into football. He's a decent little player. Technically, he's very good, but he probably hasn't got the attitude I had, or the mentality I had. So
a tiny bit of pressure there for him, like, isn't he?
Not many have.
I mean, I'm 5'9", but I mean Jacob's 6'2", and he's like that. You know what I mean? So he's a different position. He's either a left back or left wing back or a midfielder. So. Funny enough, he's just had a trial actually, and he went in at his trial, and they're playing him up front, and I'm thinking, well, he's not a forward, so you know that's he's left-footed, so I think he should.
Has he had the mentality? I know you're saying he is a little bit different in a sense, but has he always been since 9, 10, 11? That's what he wants to be. Has he always said the footballer?
Always, yeah. And I'm glad you've asked this, because I mean we'll all be the same in terms of our kids. I would love him to be a football player, but for me it's not the be all and end all. Yes. And you as a parent say to the kid what you want to be, and you'll support them by any means whatsoever. And if he says to me, I don't want to play football, brilliant, made up, but he wants to, so I'll support him. But he will want to play the game, not because I'm telling him to. Absolutely no chance. If he wants to go down different avenues, you know,
he'd probably rebel if you was forcing him to or telling him to, wouldn't he?
With him, and let him have his own sort of, career partner and make his own choices, and I think he'll probably thank you for it in the long run.
Well, hopefully, yeah.
Again, it goes back to, you still need a massive load of luck in that football.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, luck plays, and we've touched upon it. Luck is huge, isn't it?
Yeah, so you can be someone in football nowadays as well, maybe a little bit more at the top in the professional bit, but like managers are lucky if they're getting 2 and 3 seasons now. No, I'm your striker. You get the bullet, you get sacked. This next manager comes in, he's not having me as a player. You know what I mean? I'm sub, and he fancies someone else.
It's an opinion, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what you got to have now in the football. Some people, you know, are having it, and some people aren't, and that's where luck comes in.
I mean, it's whatever, right, isn't it? So you think, I mean, I think back to certainly me under Gerard Houllier. Now, people's perception of certain players at a certain area was, you're not professional enough, and then all the game changes. And then, as a new manager coming in, he has different, methods, different ethos, if you like, and different ways of getting prepared for games. But it was maybe hard for me to maybe adjust to that, because, I mentioned before, the likes of all these great players who are legend. Legend does get used far too much in probably in every sport now, but the likes of Ian Rush, John Barnes, Ronnie Whelan, Jan Molby, Steve Nicol, all the proper legends. Yeah. So I'm watching these, I'm thinking, well, it's right for them. So it's hard for me to sort of adapt to change when this has been working for so long for some players. So, you are maybe, again, the product of the environment. So if I'm coming into my career now, you do things differently because obviously things have changed. So that's what I'm alluding to with obviously the managers. So, a manager will have certain ways of playing. He'll come in and he'll want players who want to abide by what he's trying to do. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying I was, I wasn't going to abide. Of course, you're going to do that, but you've still got to, you've got to remember that you played this way for 10 years, and all of a sudden you've got to change, and it's hard. It's one of the reasons why people sort of not dislike Graeme Souness, but people say Graeme Souness failed as Liverpool manager. I don't think he did, in all fairness. I know people.
I like him, I know.
Yeah, I love him because he.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously that one is the big thing. But he gave me my chance, so I've got a lot of time for him. But what he tried to do in terms of Liverpool, right? He tried to change it too quickly. So what he tried to bring into the club was what every club is doing now. I mean, he'd been over in Italy and he'd seen how you eat, how you prepare, what you put into your body in terms of your food, your drink. And then obviously he was trying to do that, but then the players were sort of, it's not for us this, you know what I mean? So
he was obviously a disciplinarian now as well, the way he is and how his attitude is. When you said then about need a bit of luck, it stuck in my mind, and it's so true. And you can be the best footballer in the world, the best fighter in the world. When you talk about luck, like he's fighting, got a cut off Kell Brook a few weeks before the fight, couldn't spar no more. He's had the fight where his ears been hanging off. I've had the fight where I've been cut 3 times in 3 rounds, first 3 rounds. He's had the fight where before Batavia, if your rib goes in sparring, you can't spar for the last 3 or 4 weeks. Sometimes you think, as you say, why me? Why that? But other times you'll have a lot of luck. You get a fight you shouldn't have ever got, you take it, you win it, you get opportunities. You do need luck in sport, and I don't care what level it is, and especially obviously in.
Well, I mean, I sort of relate that to mine, and I mean, you've obviously nailed it and pinpointed exactly why the luck in boxing, different injuries or different cuts. I mean, it could be like a little innocuous side blow where you've grazed and all of a sudden it's opened up. But I'm thinking of football with me. I mean, Liverpool at the time had spent £2.5 million on Nigel Clough. Great player, but wasn't really happening for him at this particular time. Ronnie Rodentine would score goals. Mark Walters, who was there at the time, technically, up there with one of the greats. But the big one was Ian Rush. I mean, Ian Rush is phenomenal. We all love Ian Rush for the amount of goals and the type of player he was for Liverpool. But at the time when I came in, he's having a bit of a tough time. Yeah. So, I'm thinking, you've got to come in there and try and score goals, and Liverpool having a tough time. But I come in and sort of hit the ground running. I might have shit the bed, or I might have, I don't know, been crap in my first game. Yeah. And then,
pressure as well, when obviously that's the type of person that you're trying to sort of technically take his place.
Yeah, but it's funny, I'm never big into pressure, to be fair, because again, it's my mentality and my temperament is, I don't see that as a pressure. I'm playing a game that I love. So again, as much as you're playing, with these superstars, this is probably one of the reasons why I think the Liverpool dressing room took to me, because I'd go in there and, you know, I wasn't shy in terms of...
That's what I was just going to say. Us as fans watching you when I was a kid growing up, that's what I always assumed you were like. A little bit of a piss take, a little bit of a... But you got the work done on the pitch.
Yeah.
As they said, you knew where the onion bag was. You knew how to slot a few goals in. You were a natural goal scorer. But you probably liked a little piss take in there. But you were obviously doing the work that was needed to do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to play consistently the way you did.
I mean, nailed on. You go into a dressing room and if you go in there a bit of a whimper and everyone taking a piss out of you, then you can sort of go backwards. But I went in there and felt I should have been there. Yeah. Now, there's a fine line between confidence and cockiness. I was never cocky, but I was confident, and you know, I believed I should be there. But I went in there, and don't get me wrong, I appreciated every single player in there, but I'd go in there and I'd try and be as normal as I possibly could.
There's no imposter syndrome, was there?
Yeah, no.
Like, so obviously in our sport, I say this time and again, I admire fighters like Canelo, like Crawford, like Pacquiao back in the day, like Mayweather. As much as you'll dislike Mayweather's attitude because of probably the cockiness and arrogance, which we don't really like or such, but you can't deny the great. But they've come from absolutely nothing. And again, no disrespect to you, probably like yourself, like us, like, you know, I never all grew up with money. When you're getting paid the fortunes that you get paid in football, when you're making $50 million a fight like Mayweather type's making, I don't think I can get out of bed to go again and go the next time, knowing what I've got to put my body through, and you're getting up daily, going to training and working your ass off. And as you said, still technically loving the game, but life's a lot easier outside the ring. How did you stay sort of focused and keep that hunger to be the best? Because as you say, you're competitive.
It's the love of the game, isn't it? So, I mean, you go back to the start, and I mean, we never had a car. I mean, so I used to get like 2 buses. I mean, I never lived with my mum and dad. So my mum and dad had obviously split before I was born. So, you know, my mum would give me the bus fare. My dad would go everywhere with me, don't get me wrong. But sometimes my mum would give me dad the bus fare to go, you know, to take me. I'm not saying it was all the time, but that would have been the case. So it was what I wanted to do, but it was like, I'm not saying that was made you hungry to sort of get out of where you were to somebody. That was, I don't think of that, or I never ever thought of that. It was just me wanting to play football. And I just knew that, you know, if we haven't got a car, and if someone did give you a lift, you know, you were over the moon. But I never played football to try and get away from where I lived, or, you know, to get money. I played football because I loved it.
I think that's what's made your attitude. When you said before you touched on pressure, and you said you didn't feel any pressure, that's because of your attitude, the fact that you played because you enjoyed it. You didn't play it thinking, I've got to change my life, I've got to change my family's life, because that would be pressure on you. You didn't feel pressure because you just played what you loved and you enjoyed it.
I think it's the mentality as well, and I mean, again, I hope this doesn't come across as crass or whatever, but the pressure is, I mean, not being able to afford your mortgage, or, you know, not putting, you know, food on your kids' table. That's pressure. I mean, I'm playing a game that I love, and I you know, got paid for it, don't get me wrong, but if I wasn't getting paid, I'd still love it. But I suppose because for me, it was a hobby, and I don't know anyone who is pressured into doing hobbies. So, you know, if you treat it like a job, you know, potentially you could be pressured into sort of, you know, being better, or, you know.
It's got to work, huh?
Yeah, but it was never a job for me. So I was never about the money, you know. And I know people say, "Oh, I worked hard." And you know what, as well, it'll be interesting what you think of this as well. So, you know, with football now, everyone talks about money, and you go on about, oh, he's on X amount of money and he's this and that. But it's a big thing because everyone talks about the money in football. I do not begrudge any player getting any money. And the simple fact is, I think football, especially now, they're entertainers. Now, again, people say, oh, they talk about there, but there's good and there's bad, right? So you look at, like, Tom Cruise, for example. He's a movie star, he's an entertainer. He gets 20-30 million pound a film, and he's made shit ones. Not too many lately, because he's actually all right. But when he makes a shit film, everyone says, oh, it's shit, that. But he's an entertainer. So I liken that to football to a degree, whereas they're entertainers. Now, you get good ones, and there's some shit ones, in all fairness. But
where you're saying there's a lot that you drive where you want. Growing up, where you said, I just wanted to play football, score goals. It's kind of like what you were saying, Colin. I've seen your interview with Joe Hart. Now, people can make money now being loud and brash and through Instagram and getting sponsors, say like boxers with putting them names out there. And you said before, you were never like that. You just always said you knew your ability to take you far and then the money would come. You know what I mean? Yeah, just you thought you were good enough, so you're talking in the ring with your hands, and then once you got as far as you believed you could go, no matter what money comes at the top. So
yeah, I felt like I didn't need social media or profile to get me opportunities. I always felt my boxing ability would get me the opportunities, and I always felt I was good enough to take advantage of them and win. And as long as I kept winning, at some point you'll fight for the world title and win it. And when you do win it, you just grow up with the belief that you're in a world title, you're making money. Do you know what I mean? That was the belief I always had. I never turned professional.
Yeah, it's funny, and just to follow up on that as well, and obviously me growing up in the Liverpool team, you know, playing with superstars, and you know, being, you know, one of the youngest to, you know, to score goals in the Premier League at that particular time. I mean, I got offered loads of things to do off the pitch, you know, like, you know, promoting sponsors, whatever. But you know what? I wasn't interested. It was more about football for me. I know things change, and you know, I'm not here to have a go at anyone who's ever done that. You know, don't ever think that. People done that years ago. People do it more so now. But it was never about, you know, what I want. Never about what. Never about what we were in the game for.
Sorry, my take on the money in football before we move on, right? I don't care what any player's paid. I don't really know. I don't never look into it. But he's on X amount a week, and I don't care. If you're doing a sport and you're going out and, you know, living under that pressure, whatever, and you get paid whatever, good luck to you. Same with fighters in fights.
Time as well.
Doesn't bother me. The only time it bugs me or gives me a little bit of a niggle is when a club pays for a player and they go, oh lad, too much, paid too much. And I'm like,
yeah, it's not your own money. It's someone.
What a club is paying another club for a player, that bugs me, lad. It's well too much. I'm like, it's not your money, don't worry about it. But the second thing is when the pressure goes onto the player. We're like a Florian Wirtz now. I think he's a good player. I think he'll come good.
He's brilliant.
He sort of started with a lot of pressure on his shoulders because his price tag was 130 odd million or whatever. Know what I mean? I think that's pressure on him.
I mean, I get that, but I think people's argument of, oh, you know, he's on X amount of money is because that will come from the fact is that, you know, ticket prices are going to go up or things in the club shop. So I get that argument. You know, I mean, someone's got. Something's going to rise, something to obviously to get you to pay more money. So that's there. But in terms of the players coming in, again, this is where you talk about the mentality of obviously said player. You know, if you go in there and you're worried or you're focused on whatever you come in the club as, then that will have an adverse effect on your performance. But again, this is where you need to talk about, or you need to think about what you are as a player, you know, and try and cast that aside. I know people will mention it all the time, but ultimately, it's not down to the player, is it? The player said, well, I'm going for 120 million. You know, the player's probably not bothered, is he, about what he goes for? So it's someone else putting that, you know, attitude or that thought process into the players, because you know, it will get brought up all the time. But in theory, it's nothing to do with the players.
Shouldn't be, yeah.
One question I wanted to ask you, and I like listening to the answers from everyone that we try and ask this. I'm a big believer in, you grew up in Liverpool 8, Oxford, where Liverpool 4, Kirkdale. Do you think it's nature or nurture, or a mixture of both? Do you think it's where you're from and then how hard you work, or if you hadn't been playing with the people you were playing with, would you have been as good as you was? Do you think?
I mean, it's a vast question, and it's like a broad question. You know, I can give you whatever answer you need, but my opinion is it's all about nurture. I mean, again, you know, people say I'm one of the most naturally gifted strikers, and it kills me. Because I worked hard, and for me, natural ability is the repetition or the monotony of doing the same thing over and over again. And therefore, when you've done the repetition, when you've done the monotony of doing it over again, you take that onto a pitch, and it looks easy, but the fact is that you've done it for years and years, and you've practiced. You know, repetition's a big thing for me. It's like you as boxing. You know, if you keep doing that, you know,
big on repetition.
It's like your fast muscle fibers are gonna, your muscle, the muscle memory.
It's even with finishing, and so people say you're a natural born finisher. No, you still work hard at finishing.
I mean, I was forever playing football. I was forever carrying a ball around with me. I mean, when I was growing up, and this sounds really stupid. I mean, I could not kick with my right foot. Genuinely, when I was a young kid, and I would get like a ball, and I would bounce it just in front of a wall and like learn to kick it that way. And then if you keep doing that, then eventually it becomes like a little bit of normality. And then all of a sudden you take it from bouncing it and put it on the floor. And then you start kicking it on the floor, and you're like quite unusual and orthodox trying to kick. But eventually it becomes like a second nature, if you like. And I remember doing a talk once, and again, I'll be careful how I wait, because I don't want to come across as a bit of a dickhead, but someone was asking me the same question, and I was in a classroom, and I got, you can imagine like a big whiteboard in front of it, and I got someone up, and I gave him a pen. I went, write your name, and he wrote his name, and it was brilliant, real neat, real, like, what's the word I'm looking for here, fancy, and it was brilliant. And I went, now go and do it with your left hand. And he went, and it was all over the place. He'd done it with his left hand, and it looked terrible. And I went, well, when you first started writing your name, that's what it was like. Yeah. But then all of a sudden you practice all the time, and it looks brilliant. Yeah. But that is, for me, that is nature, isn't it?
That's why I asked you the question, because you see so many people, and not just boxing, they'll be on the couch and they were watching someone against a J and going, I fucking beat him, I'd beat him. And like, you wouldn't. But then I watched the darts, and you see them throwing the darts, and they're hitting 180s for fun. You go on the dartboard yourself and have a go, and you're struggling. Same with the snooker. Anytime the snooker's on, you go and watch it. We use these examples all the time, but you'd also see people like, you're dead lucky you got that opportunity to fight there, or you're dead lucky you got it in the team at that time. You've got to obviously work, practice all the time, and it's that what goes on behind the scenes, what no one sees, what makes you the better athlete, fighter, footballer.
I think you can nurture people to be the very best.
Yeah, you're definitely born with something. You're born with a gift, but you've got to.
But you need something to hone it and something to get out of you.
If you say, like, basically, we're four brothers, all being successful professional fighters, whatever, so we go and have a lad, he's definitely going to be a boxer. Not really. We don't take him to the gym, he never boxes, or he never does it at home. He's not going to be, yeah, exactly.
The English ABA asked me Dad whether he'd be put out to stud once, but he'd had the snip, it was a bit too late, so he couldn't do it.
No, speaking of dressing rooms, like, who was your roommate, who was your little clique in the Liverpool team?
Well, I mean, Steve McManaman's my biggest mate, isn't he? So, I probably speak to him. Lad. Yeah, I speak to him maybe, 3-4 times a week. Yeah. Really close. I'm one of them as well. First roommate was Ronnie Rosenthal. In fact, I'll tell a lie, it was Nigel Clough. And then I went with Ronnie Rosenthal, and then early doors went with Macca, and then we stayed roommates for years and years. And obviously we got a bit big, and, not fed up with each other, but then we had our own rooms then, you know what I mean? So, but I mean, for me, Macca was brilliant. Certainly as a foil for me as a player, incredible. And it's funny because when you talk about like the best players I've ever played with, I mean, Stephen is everyone's conversation, and in terms of if you played with him, Stephen's going to be there. Love playing with him, but I always put like Steve McManaman as my favourite ever player, because we had a great understanding, we had a great relationship on and off the pitch. We sort of, we become great mates, not only on the football pitch but off it as well, and we had a good understanding, which certainly helps you develop as a player.
So I feel that helped him sort of know what runs you'd make, and that, and you'd know he'd find you if you make a run.
Yeah, I think that's the part of being a good player as well. So I think it's the cleverness of knowing what players can and can't do.
Yeah.
So you know what he's going to do. So I would not adapt my game, but we would sort of work each other out and know what he can do, and he'd be the same with me. So again, it's understanding.
We were spoilt as kids growing up in Liverpool, Scousers in general, Liverpool fans, at the amount of Scousers we've had play for the team, and it's getting a bit few and far between nowadays. Obviously, Trent's just gone, we've still got Curtis and Curtis Jones, but it's getting to that stage now where a lot of the academy kids are not necessarily local kids and Scousers from the area, they're from all over the country. And the recruitment level at that level is very high to bring them in. But we were lucky over the years, and I've been lucky as Liverpoolians, Liverpool fans, to have so many Scouse kids like yourselves come through and make it.
Loads, I mean, and I do understand, I do get that. But I think maybe from a club point of view, I think they should be going down consciously trying to get local kids, because we've seen how much it lifts the fans. We've seen how much that can sort of engage the football club with the surroundings. But I think it
was Steve who told us the Phil Thompson story.
Yeah, brilliant. But I mean,
are you still close to McAteer?
Yeah, I mean, I
I
speak
remember
to him,
playing
yeah.
golf for years.
Yeah, no,
He's
I
had
mean,
loads of-
obviously, Mac is my big mate, and McAtee is fucking an idiot, isn't he? I mean, but he's one of them. He's like a lovable idiot, isn't he? So, but I think, I mean, he's going down the route of wanting to be serious now as well. So I don't think he'll tell you the stories about what he used to tell you, because I think he's just done a course or something, so he wants to come across as a serious pundit now, or a serious person now, so I don't think we'll be getting the funny stories from him anymore. But one of them, I think, with dressing rooms as well, and just obviously a quick one, we used to call him, he was Trigger, wasn't he? But he was Ireland Trigger, and we had Rob Jones, who was Liverpool's Trigger, and it came to an ugly head one day. We were playing one day. How did I go there one day? It came to like a real ugly head, because we were playing Wimbledon, and I think Neil Ruddock turned and when Trigger go and pick him up, and Rob Jones and Jason ran to the same player. So we thought it was a bit silly that. So it goes in at half time, and he said, "Listen, lad, that can't happen. You've got to fucking use your head here." And Rob, you've been at Liverpool the longest. Jason, you've only just come up, but Rob, you've been here obviously a little bit longer, so you can stay Trigger. Jason, you've only just come, so from now on you're known as Dave. So Jason, I don't know you know that, but Jason McAtee's nickname is Dave because Trigger calls Rodney Dave and only feels the noses. And I mean, it was again just another quick story. So the two of them, when they were talking, I mean, it was genuinely comedy gold. So they were having a conversation. I mean, again, it was after one of the Legends game. And they're talking, I'm thinking, I've got to listen to this conversation. So Rob Jones is telling Jason, he says, I'm doing a book. So Jason's going, well, what's it about? He said, well, it's an autobiography. He goes, what's it about? And he went, well, it's my career, what I've done before football, what I've done during football, and what I've done after it. And he's going, yeah, what's it like then? And he went, I don't know, I haven't read it yet. Brilliant. And that's what you got all the time with him. So you have to sort of really listen to them. But I mean, again, you talk about characters in dressing rooms, and I think, again, we go back to what we were saying at the start. I think there's a need for different types of characters in dressing room, because again, you don't want robots. You don't want robots.
We've been lucky being brothers, but boxing is very much an individual sport. So you get in the ring, you're on your own and stuff. But any half-decent fighter will tell you your gym and your time, your gym, your teammates, your people who you work with every day are massive in your career. If you just go to the gym every day on your own, I don't think any of us would have made it, would we? Anyway,
a lot of fighters used to be like Marvin Hagler, won it all.
Yeah.
What's his name? Off Club of Lang, off I live alone, I train alone. He just go to the gym by himself. Price used to do it all the time. And it wasn't for me. Like, you're in the gym, just you and your coach. There's hardly no music on it, and you're just working. You go in the gym and it's bustling, and there's other champions on the bag, and you're sort of up in your game to try and keep up with them as well, because they're training methodically, and he might be better than you, he might be better than you. You got to up your game, and the better people you're around usually will bring you up there as well. But it probably, as I say, they're not all just boring. Some of them are characters, some of them are really hard work and focus.
That's where I sort of fall into this as well, whereas obviously everyone's different and everyone will train and prepare differently for different fights. So I always think with certainly me as a coach now, I mean, I would not go into a football club claiming I knew everything, because if it did, people would call me a liar, because, I don't think anyone knows everything. So this is where you talk about the environment, you talk about who you're with, you talk about surrounding yourself with right people. I want someone, certainly as my assistant or, my number two, to question me. If I go into an environment or a club, and I want yes men, I mean, you are on a very, very quick downward spiral. So you have someone with you who's prepared to throw you different questions, ask you questions, and I think every day, and that's what I like. That's what I like about environments within football.
Coaching now and training in boxing, so I'm in the gym every day with my fighters. I'm trying to help them, trying to make them improve and stuff. But when it gets to fight night, I have a team in the corner, and I need someone next to me who I trust and I believe knows boxing. Just so I'm watching a fight, I can go, I'll just go that round, and if they tell me, I trust their opinion. You know what I mean? I don't want someone who's just going to agree with me all the time, because I could read the fight wrong, could give the wrong instructions, and it could cost them in the fight. So it's the same thing. You don't need yes men round. You're just saying, yeah, you're right. You want someone to put you right.
I was saying, I'm training fighters now. First night in the corner at the top by myself. I rang him and said, will you come in with me? and just sit by me. It's just a familiar voice, someone who knows. So if I'm watching it again, same thing. I just said, well, your opposite up in the corner. Any problems, you're there. He's never going to say, yeah, I think they won that when they didn't win it.
No. You just said it as well. It's a trust thing, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you need to value their opinion, don't you, to be able to believe it.
Well, like that when we fight, though. When he fights, if you ever watch any of his old fights back, you'll get onto it. End of the round, he's walking back the corner, and he'll look for me, and he'll look for them. And I'm in the corner helping his coach out. His coach is the coach, he's the boss in the corner. But I'm there just as to help, and it keeps my
reassurance.
So he'll look for us, and then he'll look 5 seconds to go, he'll stand up 5 seconds, and he'll look over there and go like that to them.
Shows of that or like
and then
that
the
or
go,
little instruction.
But that glance is enough, because if it wasn't going to plan, they'd be like, need a bit more, or get, as Liam would say, get your fucking ass in gear or something. You just tell your status it is all the time. But
so if it's not going to plan, he's got smoke coming out of his ears. He's just not.
Can see from his face if it's not going to plan.
I'm like the aggressive one.
Is there any players you see you like nowadays, and anyone you kind of see similarities to yourself?
I don't know. It's hard for me to say, because I mean, I think it's easier for other people to say, "Oh, he reminds you of him." So I'm saying Ronaldo or Messi, but but, I mean, I talk shit, don't I? But, but it's one of them as well in terms of. I mean, look, I understand the game. I think when I think of my career, I think people remember me for goals, but I would genuinely like to think I was more than goals. So I think I had a bit more in my lock, and this is where we talked before about like you're a product and good players adapt to whatever situation. I think certainly when I got older, and obviously, I mean, I don't think I was ever quick anyway, but my game sort of was maybe dropping a little bit deeper. I think I was clever enough to see a pass, or when you talk about like how you coach, and it's getting your players to sort of understand how you pass it, where you pass it, when you should be passing it. So I think I was clever enough to do that as a player, but it probably went unnoticed because I scored goals. In terms of players now, I genuinely couldn't tell you.
Well, we could keep you there asking your questions all day.
I can talk.
I know we could, but just a couple more before we wrap up. How's your academy?
Doing really well, yeah. I think we have probably about 250 kids going in, and it's funny actually, because we are like an educational college, and because it's me, everyone thinks it's just a football academy, but it's not just for football. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, we'll have kids who come in and want to play football, and we have avenues where they can go to scholarships, they can go to university, we can employ them, so it is giving them an opportunity to try and better themselves, but it is educational, and that's probably what I love. I'll be honest, I've never ever took nothing out of it. No. So it's not for me. It's not for that. It's about giving something back and preparing people or preparing students for life with education. And it's been a massive success. Yeah, I think we've been open 10 years now, 250 plus kids, and it works extremely well.
Brilliant. Any more legend footy, or are you done with the football now?
I think I'm done, mate, to be fair. And you know what? One of the reasons why is, I mean, I said before, my brain works, but my body's, I've had so many injuries, and it kills me not doing what I could do maybe easy. And it sort of came, I remember years ago, I don't know if you remember this, but you remember Steven Gerrard had a testimonial against Olympiacos.
Yeah.
I actually played in it, right? So I think I'd asked Steven, and he went, yeah, come and play. And I just wanted to play for Liverpool, just wanted to put that shirt on again. And I played, I came, and Brendan Rodgers, the manager, he put me on about 10 minutes ago, and I played up front with Luis Suarez, right? And I remember him turning and then putting a ball, past the defender, and I'm thinking, it's one-on-one with the keeper, one-on-one, I'm going to score a goal. But the ball just kept going away, right? And I'm thinking, fuck, can't get there, right? And I mean, if it was in my pomp, it's a goal, and we're walking back to the halfway line, and we're obviously done the celebration, and we're like ready to kick off again. But this ball's going away, and I end up sliding and hitting the side netting. But that killed me. Yeah. That killed me because I couldn't do it. And the ball just, I mean, it probably wasn't even a quick ball. It was just like going like slow, and it was rolling away. And I went, it's probably not for me, this footy anymore.
Dad, look, if I was an ex-player, I would still play in them until I literally physically couldn't. Honest, I loved them though. Like the one we played in with yourself was one of the best things I'd done at the time. Walking the changing room, seeing you. Callum got a story. Callum got the ball, him and Alan Kennedy. I was screaming at him.
But you know what I will say about him now as well, and again, this is not for everyone, but I think that they're not as enjoyable as what they used to be. Only for the simple, not because we can't do it, but it become the attitude now. And again, don't get me wrong, you know, I'll be careful how I say this, but it's gone back to we should be winning. And for me, these games are not. It's about. I mean, the people in the crowd want to see. They want to see like some fat footballer fall over because that's brilliant, isn't it? But all of a sudden now it's all about like the fit ones, and we've got to win the game, and that's so. I look, I do get it. Don't get me wrong, I do get it. It's that attitude and that mentality, but I want to watch the fatties falling over. You know what I mean?
I think his next question is they're looking for a number 9 for Custies if you're free.
No, I've played in a couple of I played in Northwest Select with like Ryan Lowe, Phil Bardsley, like a Northwest Select, like a couple of celebrities, a couple of boxers, a couple of footballers, and it was brilliant. It was against Rangers 11. They had Mason, Letitia centre mid, Mrjelovic, the forward for Everton up front. I didn't realise how big he was. He was on lump, yeah. Well, I didn't realise that. Then played him one against the Man United 11. Should have seen Darren Fletcher, just like no one could get near him. But I played on the same team as David Thompson. So me and him have gone off. I was asking a few questions about...
Is that when he got beat?
Well, no, so then when I get you boxing in, I think I've been at boxing in Saudi. So I get on a flight, a connecting flight in Qatar, and Phil Bardsley and all that were on it. So I was talking to him, I said, where have you been? He said, we've just played Liverpool in Thailand. He said, fucking brilliant. He said, Tomo's over there, but he's fuming. So as we looked over, so David Thompson gets up. So Bardsley, Wes Brown, they're like winding him up, said, battered them, didn't we? So David Thompson's biting. First time he beats us in how many years? Yeah, look, so Tomo goes, Liam, come on. We had Emileski into the man centre half. So Bardsley's winding up saying, mate, is that Glenn Johnson in the team? Not our fucking fault. He said, but he said Tomo was biting and went for a snap at Michael Sylvester. He said he's biting again, weren't he? He said,
he loves it, doesn't he, Tomo? He loves a bite, doesn't he?
Ah, brilliant.
I do remember that game, actually. I think they beat us 4-1, I think.
He said that 4-1. It's Ireland, yeah. Because I think he said they booked all different flights home.
Yeah. Oh, you know what I remember about that as well, and he's spot on there, because we didn't have any other forwards, or in fact we didn't have any defenders. That was it. Yeah. So did he man? Yeah. I know Glenn Johnson. He could have played centre, but he was obviously he probably had the legs, so he had to play this side, didn't he? Yeah. But we, I think that's what we were having a little moan up, because we didn't have any defenders. But we had a good time.
I remember asking them, because when I played against them, they had two, like, again, a charity legends. You think it's a few fat fellas, a few slowed down, but they had the two forwards were still fit and lively. It was Fraser Campbell and Danny Webber, is it? Yeah. And because I asked Tom, I said, who's that kid? He said, Danny Webber. He said, like, he should have had a well better career. He was top scorer in Championship and only had a few games for United, but he was on the flight on the way home.
Probably one last one, because it'd be strange if we didn't ask you. Boxing and growing up, any fights you remember, any big fights that you ever went to when you were playing, best fight you've seen on telly, or any good memories of boxing growing up?
I mean, again, I was probably the heir of Mike Tyson, you know, getting up and the fights where he was obviously a knockout merchant early doors, wasn't he? That one, but I'll talk about, I don't know in terms of the era, but I always remember the Steve Collins and Eubank fights, the Eubank and Bent fights. I think they were always brilliant. The probably first fight I seen, I don't even know what year this would probably be, mid-80s, would be McGuigan. Was it a Chavez in Mexico?
I think he's fought a few different ones. Obviously, his big one, what everyone seems to remember, was the fight in Vegas, wasn't it? The cruise, yeah.
No, I'm sure he fought. I can't believe I'm telling you. I'm sure he fought outdoors in Mexico.
Yeah, the heat.
Yeah,
it's unbearable, I believe. Yeah, they killed him, didn't it?
There's one Vegas that he had that as well. Yeah, it's always interlinked, the football and the boxing, and the people that we've had on, obviously we've asked them all a similar question: what memories you have of boxing, or whether any boxing was surrounding or influencing you growing up? Because a lot of people obviously in other sports tend to love the boxing as much as the boxers will love watching.
Yeah, oh God, no, yeah, I did. I watch them all the time, yeah. And yeah, you know what, growing up where I used to live as well, and again, I don't think I've ever told this one as well, but you know when you're a kid and you're playing like, I don't know what you call it in the north end, but in the south end, we used to call it Kirby.
Yeah, Kirbs. Yeah, Kirby, yeah.
So I used to play that. I used to play that, right? But where I lived, remember Brian Schumacher? Yeah, so I mean, I don't even know what he's up to now, or you know, I know
they were a family where they did the Schumachers.
Yeah, so I'm playing Kirby outside, and he's come out of the wind and he told me to, but again, go back to me being a cheeky kid. I think I told him to fuck off, and he actually jumped through the window and chased me. That's probably the quickest I've ever in my life. And I think he just ran to our house, and I was about to come in. You know what I mean? I think again, I think my mum stopped him, but that was like my first sort of.
Run in with a boxer.
Yeah. I mean, then you sort of kept tabs of a few of his fights in your Brian Schumacher, because he's not tabs of it. He'd fought, and then you sort of I think he went missing for a few years, and I think do your own work on that one, lads. You mean, but So obviously Brian Schumacher. The big fights again was. Shane Erie, remember the Stanley Park fight?
And the Oligan.
And the Oligan, yeah. And I remember that in a big...
He fought Chavez outdoors in Mexico as well.
I remember that. I remember that fight. I remember once, right, we had like not a raffle, we had like an auction within Liverpool once, right, and we were going to give the money to charity, but it got stupid. And every player who had a number was going to like bid for whatever number you wanted, but it got canned straight away, right? Because within this, you can imagine we're all in this room, and Roy Evans, great idea, and we're going to raise some money for charity, and whatever money, if you want this shirt number, you're gonna have to bid for it, right? And we're going to give all this money to charity. So it's a great idea, and I get like the sentiment and the mentality of why you do that.
It's stupid,
but it got stupid, right? So David James wants to be number one, right? So you can imagine we're all in this room. So who's going to start the bid at £1,000? So James gone, yeah. And I've gone 3,000. I'm like 23 at the time, 3,000. Macca's gone, I'll have 5. And Jamo's gone, Jamo won't let you win. He's gone, I'll go 10. I'll go 12 then. And it got like stupid. Roy Evans went, we'll have to cancel that, because it got ridiculous straight away.
Bidding out of spite for the number.
But that was the thing. So when I re-signed, Liverpool went number 11, and someone asked me about like the 11 and why I didn't want to go 9. Jibril Cisse was number 9. So I couldn't have gone that. But I came out with a statement, and I went, you know what, I'm quite proud of myself for saying this. It was a case of, it doesn't matter the name or the number on the back of the shirt. It's the badge on the front. Exactly. And I went, well, I'll have that one. I'll have that one, yeah. I went, shit.
It's right though, innit? I think you got a question.
Yeah, the blonde hair. Wait, what's the story behind it? What was?
Well, the story about was it was alcohol induced, actually. And you know what? I mean, there was 5 of us, and we went to Faliraki for a holiday. And unbeknownst to us at the time, Roy Evans used to go to Faliraki all the time, because I think he had like family friends there, and we bumped into him. And there was me, Dominic Matteo, one of my mates, Stephen Calvi, and obviously a few others. And we're all just sitting there, and Roy Evans is there, and we just come up with this idea about like 5 of us just going to get our hair done. So bear in mind, we sat here one day with Roy Evans, we're just all normal. The next day, we were sitting there, we're all like with like little bits of ginger and like different colours of hair. So I wasn't really blonde, right? It was because obviously quite dark hair. You get it done in another country. They're not really arse, they just do want to take your money, and you become blonde. But then I went home, and I went platinum blonde, because I went to Herbert's, and you remember Herbert's by the moat house. What's the street called?
By Wade Smith, wasn't it? By the old Wade Smith.
So I mean the big Herbert's in there. So I came off the plane, and I had a little bit of ginger. I went a little bit of ginger, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna get it properly. So you can imagine like a Liverpool player walking getting by the moat house, walking across. And then going full platinum. I went into Herbert's to get a proper platinum blonde hair. That was a story, and it genuinely, it was because we'd been having a drink.
Thought it might have been a bet or something, but explain.
Thanks very much, Robbie. Appreciate it.
Loved it, fellas. Thanks very much.